Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing this evening? It is currently 2:04 a.m. on this. I was like, what just happened? It's 2:04 a.m. And then I remembered that Tanya told me tonight it's daylight savings time and that we fall back. I was like, I woke up. It was 2:20 when I woke up. 2:30, something like that. And I took the dogs out and then I was doing some stuff on the computer. I was like, how is it earlier now than when I got, okay, it's daylight savings time. So anyway, it is currently 2:04 a.m. on this freezing cold Saturday evening going into Sunday. It is currently 32 degrees outside. And I've been up for about 40 minutes. I came home from my banquet tonight, and Alex was in bed watching Grace and Frankie with the dogs. And so I got into bed with him, and we just kind of hung out, and we talked, and we're playing with the dogs. They were being super sweet tonight. And we were talking about when we first got Boo and Tucker and their mom and all this stuff, and we were just like telling stories about them. And anyway, so that was around, because I said to him, I said, are you going to bed right now? And he said, yeah. And that was around 11:15. So that's when I went to bed. And then I was gonna get up about 12:45, but I slept till 2:20. So it's really like 3:06 a.m. right now. I sleep about the same amount of time, it seems like, every night when I go to bed. Alex and I have agreed upon a comforter. I showed him the pictures tonight, and he goes, well, definitely not the Santa Claus comforter. And I said, what's wrong with the Santa Claus comforter? I think it's so pretty. And he goes, definitely not the Santa Claus comforter. I said, okay. So I'm gonna get the red plaid one. And then I wanna look for like a quilt or some kind of blanket to lay over the end of it. I think I'm gonna look at either, what do you call this place up here? TJ Maxx Home. But Meijer also has a lot of really good stuff. I got quite a few of our pillows at Meijer last year. I mean, Target always has beautiful stuff, but it's expensive. So I think I'm gonna get, we have all the pillows from last year because we ended up getting that chest at the end of our bed, which is so nice. And I was so worried about it, like when we got it, because I thought the dogs wouldn't jump on the bed anymore. Well, Boo Radley has long since stopped jumping on the bed, so we have to lift him up on the bed. But Tucker jumps on the chest and then onto the bed. And let's sneeze. Hold on. Thank you. I appreciate that for those of you out there. I said bless you. I could hear it through the camera. But Tucker jumps right on top of it and then onto the bed. And it's super deep, and it's really great for storing pillows and stuff. So that's really cool. I actually have like a wood chest in my office that I got at, there's a store here called Old Time Pottery. Imagine like Pier 1, but like 10 times bigger and at half the price. And I got a bunch of stuff from my office there like years ago, like 15, 20 years ago. But everything that I bought is like almost in brand new condition because it's just basically been sitting in my office. It's not like I've used the hell out of it or anything. So I have this chest in my office, and I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, that would be perfect for putting stuff for our bedroom in it. So I might bring that home. I just don't know where in our bedroom we would put it. I was actually tonight, when I was looking at this comforter and stuff, I was looking at new vanities for our bathroom. I mean, I know Pottery Barn is expensive for that kind of stuff, but just to kind of like get some ideas of what we could do with like our downstairs and upstairs bathroom. And it would just be so nice, wouldn't it, if you just had unlimited amount of money to redo that stuff. Just be like, come in here, this is what I want, this is what I want. So yeah, we're gonna get that comforter, I think. I think if I order it tomorrow, it'll still be able to be delivered in time for Thanksgiving, because I want to put it on there like the day after Thanksgiving and have it for like the entire duration of the Christmas season. And then we also have the duvet cover if we choose to use that. I actually like the print on the duvet cover better. I just don't love the duvet cover because, like I said, there's always extra room like hanging off the end of it, like a 1.5 feet, that just like the comforter doesn't fill, even though we have like a California king size comforter and the duvet cover is California king size. It still doesn't. Does anybody else have that problem with duvet covers? I've honestly, whether it's been a queen size bed in the past or a king size bed now, I've never had a duvet cover that fits the comforter correctly. There's always extra room. And so, and what ends up happening, I don't know why, in our bed, is that Alex always gets that extra, like he gets it like where it's like full, you know. And the thing is, he uses this, he got sent this, one of those weight blankets, you know. And so we keep it folded next to the bed. McDonald's is packed, of course. We keep it folded next to the bed. And Alex folds over the comforter. And then he uses just the weight blanket. Because, like, when it's cold, it keeps him super warm. And when it's hot, it keeps him cool. It's like one of those kind of blankets. So he loves it. So he just uses that. And then we, like, fold it up the next day and put it to the side. So then I'm over there with just material. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not getting like the full effect of the comforter, and I'm the one that cares about it, and I'm the one that cares how it looks and that it looks all cozy. And so I was like, screw it, I'm getting a comforter instead of a duvet cover. I guess I used to think back in the day that like a duvet cover was better or something. I don't know. For a long time I just was under the belief that, like, I think because my mom and my aunt always had like duvet covers, you know, and they're just, and honestly, they're a lot of work to take the comforter, or take the down comforter out of it, button them back up, tie the corners. It's just a lot of work. Whereas with a comforter, you just throw it in the wash, throw it in the dryer, put it back on the bed, you know. Although I will say with comforters, they take a long time to dry. Because we're currently drying one in our basement right now, and we did like one dry cycle on it. But if you put it on more than one dry cycle, it starts twisting and stuff. So Alex has it hung all over these racks in the basement. And that's one of the comforters that we have down in the basement right now. So the green and blue one that I bought came today in the mail. Or was it yesterday that it came, or today? And it's really pretty. And I'm just going to save it for January and February. And I got a really, really good deal on that. It's Eddie Bauer, but it kind of looks like a green and blue, like Ralph Lauren plaid shirt. It's really nice. And then I'm going to try to find some plaid pillows that I can put on there as well. Alex was like, you know, we don't need to buy all this stuff and blah, 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 whatever. And I don't ever typically buy tons of stuff anyway. And I said, you know, this just really makes me happy. Like, to have a really nice bed, to get in. I like to make the bed. I like for it to look really nice. When I'm at the house all day long, you know, to come upstairs and down and like hang out on the bed with the dogs. I said, it makes me really happy to have a really pretty bed. I said, just let me do this. And he was like, okay. He was like, if it makes you happy, you know? So I'm excited about that. I also found this sweater. It was an ad on Instagram. I can't remember what this brand is called. Our friend, the couples that are, the couple that is pregnant, they're due like any day too. Her husband always wears this brand. Vineyard. Do you guys know which one I'm talking about? It's very preppy brand. But anyway, they have like a red sweater that has like plaid right here. It's like, you know, like one of those sweaters that like buttons up and it has like plaid right here. I think I might get that for Christmas Eve because we'll go over to Caroline's for dinner and then we'll go over to Alex's mom's, and so I thought it would be like super Christmassy. And Alex was like, yeah, you could wear this sweater and then you could just lay on the plaid bed and then you would just be plaid, 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 plaid. I go, God, give me a break. Tanya and I have this joke now because of the new Adele song. We're always like, go easy on me. And then we start singing the song. But he started laughing. He was like, honey, I think that shirt is really cute. I always think out stuff like that like really long in advance, you know? You have to have the perfect shirt for Christmas. Christmas is so fun. I got up today. Well, I don't know if I'm sick or if it's my allergies. Here's the thing. I don't feel sick. I don't feel like my head isn't hurting, and I don't feel like lethargic or any of that kind of stuff. But my nose is just like, I mean, I even brought like, we don't have any Kleenex, so I brought toilet paper tonight with me. But I've been sneezing like all day long. The last couple days. My eyes have been running, my nose has been running. It feels like allergies, except it's so cold outside that I would just feel like allergies are over for the year, but maybe not, I don't know. So, I woke up today and just like fiddled around the house and just did a bunch of nothing. And then Alex just kind of hung around the house too. And then I went to Dunkin' Donuts and did a review of the mini pancakes. And then I went and I was trying to go to McDonald's, but this road was like closed off to get to the McDonald's that I was trying to go to. So I just went to this parking lot that behind Crumble Cookies, or like right in front of Crumble Cookies, and did a drama video. And then I came home and I was trying to get that stuff ready and also start getting ready. And like all of a sudden I just was like, well, I was talking to Tanya on the phone on the way back. Or was it the way there? I can't remember. But anyway, I was like, I had like Google mapped like the directions to this banquet tonight. And I was like, Tanya, it's like a 40-minute drive from your house. And I was supposed to pick her up at 5:15. And her and her other friend. And she was like, okay. And she said, I think we should be fine. You know, I just don't. She was like, I don't want to get there too late, but I don't want to get there too early. I'm like, okay, well, that's going to put us there like 5 minutes before it starts. And you never know with these things, like if they're going to start like right on the dot or if they're going to be like a half an hour or whatever. And we didn't have like the schedule of what was happening. Like, you know, like 6 o'clock is this, 7 o'clock is this. So we didn't know if there was like an hour of like hanging out and talking to people and whatever. So I was like, if I'm going to pick up Tanya at 5:15, which means I have to leave my house between like 4:55 and 5, which means I have to start getting ready at like 4:25, 4:30. And it was 4 o'clock. And I had just gotten home with all these videos that I had to render and upload. So I'm like trying to get all this stuff done. I'm like downstairs. I had washed jeans. I ended up wearing a brand new pair of jeans. And I'm like running around trying to get all this stuff done. I finally was just like, if I don't get these videos up, it's whatever. Like, I'm gonna go, I'm not gonna stress out about it, I'm not gonna, you know, I'm just gonna enjoy my evening, and I'll just post them tomorrow. It's just not that big of a deal, right? Which is what I ended up doing. Which is gonna sound crazy, but like, it's so different for me, because back in the day, like even just like a year or two ago, I would have been like, how can I get this video up and get everything else done and get to where I need to get to on time? Like, I would have been like figuring out how to like upload the video from like like, it's stupid, like, that I would do that stuff back in the day. Like, I have to get a video up, and now I'm just kind of like, you know what, if it gets up, it gets up. And like, I always try to make sure that my vlog gets up, but I always kind of plan ahead for it too. And last night, I rendered it, and then I started uploading it while I was asleep. So when I woke up today, my vlog was ready to go. I think I posted it early today. I think I posted it like at 4 something. So anyway, I did a load of wash, and I was waiting for my jeans to get dry. And then I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna lay out a different outfit and go look cute, be comfortable. So I did, and I had a blast. We had such a good time. And so I went to pick up Tanya and her friend, and she's so funny because she's like dating this new guy that she met. And so she was telling us all about it, and she has like a really fun laugh. And so I was like teasing her about this guy, because he kept on like texting her like, how late do you think this thing is gonna go? And she's like, I don't know, I'll let you know when I'm done. And we were like, oh, he wants to get him some. We were like, and she was like, oh my God. And she was like laughing and stuff. It was so funny. So anyway, but that friend of mine, she wore like evening gown. She looked so pretty. And Tanya wore a leather jacket, black leather pants, and like this silk shirt underneath it. She looked so cute. And she had just bought this outfit from Macy's. And then our other friend that was a couple, he wore jeans and a button down like me with a jacket. Some of the guys were like super dressed up. It was an older crowd. It was probably about 200 people. And a lot of the people were very dressed up. A lot of the people weren't. There weren't tons of people that were my age. I would say the majority of the people were like 60 plus. And then I would say there was probably 10 to 20 people that were in my age group to 60. And then I would say there was a handful of people that were like under 30. But it was a really, really fun evening. And so when we got there, they had like coffee and water and iced tea. And Tanya and I got coffee, and we sat down. You had to put your name tag on, and then sign the book. And the book is like the text. I'll explain that in just a second. So anyway, like for each convention, they always do that, where they have everybody sign the book, the basic text of that 12-step program. And so we had coffee, and we sat around, and we talked, and our table, we decided, was the most fun. It was all people except for one from our home group, and then our friend's husband, because he's a different home group than us. Only those two people were different from our table, and the other person was like one of our friend's sponsors, and she was sitting with us. But we had a really good time. And then it was a banquet dinner, and it was very nice. And they had salad, which was delicious. It was at this banquet hall called Primo. It was like at the south side. It was like a banquet hall that you would go to for like a wedding, like reception. And I mean, it was just real plain inside, but it was super nice. And tables with tablecloths, and they had a banquet set up, or a buffet set up. They had like 2 long buffets set up, and one side, okay, so they had salad and rolls with butter. The rolls were delicious. And then they had this huge plate of fruit. And then they had the hot part of the meal was, because I asked the woman, I was like, which one of these are vegetarian and have meat in them? They had a plate of like red skin potatoes that were cut up. They were delicious. And then they had like sauteed vegetables. It was like those little corns. You know those little corns? I love those little corns so much. I don't know why I love those little corns, but I do. And then it was like onions, and I love, personally, like sauteed onions and mushrooms. I didn't used to when I was younger, but I do today. But it was like sauteed onions, peppers, and then they had manicotti. That was the vegetarian Italian dish that they had. It was okay. And then they had, but I will say overall for banquet food, the food was really good. And then they had some kind of chicken pasta. I don't know what it was, like chicken lasagna or something like that. I didn't have that, obviously. And then afterwards for dinner, they had chocolate and white cake. I had both. I did. I was having so much fun, and I was like, I'm gonna have both. They had it all out at a big table, and then you could get iced tea and coffee, and you know, like, of course, as alcoholics, we drink coffee like it's going out of style, right? So we had a bunch of, like, all of that, and anyway, I didn't eat all of my cake. I just had, you know, there were a lot of people that were getting both cakes. It wasn't just me. And then we did the sobriety countdown. I always get so emotional during the sobriety countdown. So they go through and they have the person with the most sobriety stand up in the room. And the person had 59 years tonight. And then they count down. And they do like 40 to 45 years. And then everybody that has 40 to 45 years stands up. And they were like, you know, 25 to 30 years. And so all of us stood up, like Tanya and I and everybody that. Tanya and I and our sponsor are all, there was actually only like 6 or 7 people that were in that group. And it was like and it was so funny because it was like Tanya and I and our sponsor. She was at a different table. She was like 2 tables over from us, sitting with her sponsor. But so then the person that had the least amount of time had 3 days sober. And she was like such a neat young lady too. And so anyway, so she went up, and this book that we all signed, the guy with the most amount of time gave it to her. And it's just like such a cool thing. Sit in a room and see like all of that sobriety and all that hope, you know. And as you like count down, like they start clapping. So when you get to a year, they'll go 11 months, and then everybody goes 10 months. And when you get down and you get to like 60 days, and you start seeing people stand up that have like, you know, 35 days and 20 days, and they're like, they're just so happy to be at something. Like when you get sober and you start living again, it's like the weirdest feeling. It's like, what makes you feel human? You know, the things that we take for granted, like, what should I wear to this banquet tonight, you know, or where am I sitting, and what, like, all those things, like, it's just enough to, like, pull it together and sit at a banquet. I mean, can you imagine being at a banquet with somebody that has 59 years sober when you're 10 days sober? Like, that's a humbling experience, right? And just to see the look on the look of hope, you know, on these people's faces and stuff, it's just like, it's one of the coolest things ever. And it's a real honor to be able to be part of like somebody's early sobriety like that, just to even see it, even if you don't know them, you know. So then they had a speaker. They always, you know, these things always have a speaker, and the speaker was from out of state. And I mean, to tell you, she was phenomenal. phenomenal. And she talked so much about, like, the difference. She was like, you know, she came in early like me and young, and she talked about, like, she wanted to know everything and, like, memorize the books and know all the sayings and everything, because then people would respect her. And, like, she said there's such a difference between knowing the material, and she said, and having had a spiritual awakening as a result of the program. And she said, and I love this term that she used. She said, having reasonable amount of happiness, which means that you don't, I mean, and I loved this too. She said, you know, as a result of working these steps and having this program in my life, she was like, I have an amazing life today. She was like, you have no idea. And it's just like, you know, you get to that point where you feel that. But I love that idea of reasonable amount of happiness, because I think that we, so much in life, expect that, I think we set our expectations too high for the amount of happiness that we think we should receive, you know? And I like that saying. It's like, let's keep it grounded, right? Like, let's be real on what that looks like. A reasonable amount of happiness, as she went on to explain, is like, how do you handle situations when tough times come your way? You know? So anyway, and then she talked about, I don't want to talk too much specifically about her story, obviously, but she talked, so I'm kind of trying to, like, talk about it in ambiguous terms. But she talked about, like, holding on. This was so powerful to me. We were talking about this on the way home. Holding on to anger and hatred towards people in your life, like your whole life, like parents, you know, and being like, well, I blame my mom for everything, or being so angry at somebody in your life. And she's like, you know, she was like, when you work the program and you work hard at getting better, and she said, and you see other people, and you've heard their footsteps, and you've heard their shares and meetings, like, it makes it harder to hate people in your life when people that did the exact same things are your friends. And you understand it, right? But, like, you can't, like you can't make the same excuses for that family member because you clung on to that hate for so long. And who are you if you're not hating that person? Like, how do you define yourself, right? Because you've just, like, you don't need, who would you be? Because you've hated this person all your life. You've blamed them for all your problems. And she went on to tell the story about, like, the person that she hated the most her entire life, that she blamed for all of her problems, was now at the top of her favorites list, you know? Like, I mean, like, that is so powerful. And, she talked a lot about forgiveness, and that, like, when you are a reasonable, happy person that wants to be forgiven, and that you're working in steps to improve yourself, then, you know, you extend the same grace to other people. Because if you want it for yourself, so it opens this whole new world for you, right? So when you're, like, the more you work on yourself, the more, like, people around you are forgiven, and you don't hold on to that hate, and the whole world changes. And at one point, she said, I don't even know that I have the ability to hate in my heart anymore today. She said, I don't, like, it serves no purpose. And I was like, man, that's a freeing statement, you know, to say, like, I don't have the ability to harbor any anger or hatred or resentment in my heart. And, I've seen glimpses of that the last year in my life, where I feel like I'm coming close to that. And she's really talking about emotional sobriety, you know? She's really talking about who are we when we put the drink or the drug down, or, you know, if you're not a person that's in sobriety, like, who are you on a daily basis, you know? Like, how do you treat other people? you know? And, oh, that was something else that okay, it stopped. She was talking about, like, you know, we can sit in meetings and say the right things, or, you know, we can walk people through the steps, or, you know, we can sit at work and be the best employee. But, like, really, who are we when we're in the line at the grocery store? Are we yelling at the cashier? Are we laying on our horn in traffic with road rage? Like, who are we really at our core? Are we coming home and screaming and yelling at our kids because we've had a bad day at work? Like, in that moment, like, that's who we really are, you know? Like, Tanya always says, like, you want to know who I really am? Ask my husband, ask my kid. She's like, they'll tell you who I really am. Like, you know, when the spotlight's gone and, you know, and I'm not sitting in a meeting trying to spout off what sounds good. My husband, my kid, my best friend, my employees, they'll tell you who I really am, right? And I think that that's, like, such an important thing. It's like, are we accountable for our actions? Not just the big actions, but the small things. Are we accountable for who we are when we're sitting in traffic and things aren't going our way? Are we accountable for who we are when dinner burns, you know? Or we get an unexpected bill in the mail, you know? Are we accountable for our actions when we snap at family members, you know? Or do we just say, well, that's par for life, that's par for living? Everybody does it. Because, see, like, I don't want to be that person anymore, you know? And I can't get into it because it's too specific. But when you sit in a room and you hear about the tragedy that this woman went through in her life, I mean, I can't even begin to tell you guys, okay, what this woman went through. Everything from tragedy to financial issues to medical issues. I mean, it was like more than one person should ever have to go through in their life. I just sat there and was like blown away, right? And none of it was feel sorry for me. It was all just to say, and I stayed sober through it, and I never once used it as an excuse for how my life was worse or better than yours, or why I should be able to drink or use. You know? Powerful stuff. It was a powerful evening. Alex can always tell, like, when I come home from things like that, because, like, he said to me, he was like, I came home and I was just, like, real quiet when I came home. Well, you know, on the way home, Tanya and I and our friend were, like, laughing our butts off in the car about our friend's day, because her new boyfriend's, like, on her way over, you know, to her house. And Tanya's, like, wanting a fountain Coke so bad that we stopped at the Speedway and it was closed. And we all got out of the car to go in the Speedway, and then it was closed, and we all got back in the car. So we went to the Shell station and got fountain Cokes. And then my other friend, she was like, oh, they don't even have what I drink here. And I was like, what do you drink? She's like, Coke Zero. And I was like, well, just go get a bottle and put it on ice. And she's like, no, that's too much trouble. So anyway, we were laughing so hard. It was just so much fun too. And yes, the cake was delicious. I don't know which one I liked better, the chocolate or the white wedding cake, but the white wedding cake was pretty good. I love white wedding cake, like Billy Idol white wedding. But I came home, you know, I was listening to my audiobook on the way home, and I came inside, and before I even came upstairs, Alex was like, well, I've been texting him, you know, and throughout the evening, and sending him pictures and stuff, because he went to Carlitos' birthday party at the bowling alley. He didn't stay very long, though, he said, but he had sent me some pictures from that. So I said, I was downstairs, and I was, like, putting my stuff away, and he said, he was like, hey, babe, he was like, did you have a good time? And I was like, yeah, it was a lot of fun. And so I came upstairs, and he was like, you're just really, he said something like, I can't remember how he said it, but I was being quiet. And it's just like, I always feel so moved, you know, that it's like he knew exactly what was going on too, because he said something to me. He said, he either said, you always, or do you feel like more appreciative of your life? Like, I always do. Like, I always come home and I just am like, man, my life, like, can't even say that I have a reasonable amount of happiness in my life, like she said. I have an amazing life. And that's not to say that things always go my way, you know? I have a lot of sad stuff that happens in my life. I have a lot of things that make me angry. But I don't have to hold on to that today. And I don't have to let it define my life, you know? I don't want to let it define my life. I look back on my life, honestly, I really, really do. And, you know, there's a lot of things I don't talk about in my vlog. There's a lot of things I've never talked about in my videos, in my life, you know? And I have a lot of what you would call I had a lot in the past. I've worked through most of it in counseling and other stuff. I have a lot of justifiable anger about things, right? Justifiable anger is when you're angry at situations that have happened in your life or whatever, and it's a justified reason. It's like, well, of course, anybody would be, right? But like, I think I got to the point where I was like, okay, it's justifiable that I'm angry about this. It's justifiable that I have expectations that things should have turned out differently in my life. But it's affecting me. Like, it's continuing to affect me. And why am I holding on to that? Like, who's the one that's being affected by that? Me. You know? And that's where, like, when I have conversations with people, and they'll say, but if you had gone through what listen, I get it. You know, and sometimes I don't say really exactly how I feel in my heart of hearts because I don't want to, like, offend anybody or hurt people's feelings. But most people out there have been through some horrific crap at some time or another. But what we choose to do with that, or, you know, like this woman tonight, like she said it in her lead, and it's like, if I say it in a video, there's a lot of people that are like, wait a second, right? And I said it in a video like a week and a half ago, and I can't remember who it was. I think it was Jacqueline said, thank you for saying this. But like, typically if I would say something like that, a lot of people would be like, I don't want to, like, that's not true. I don't want to hear it. But she said this in her lead tonight. She said, you know, like, it's not the moments of tragedy that happen in our lives, it's what we do with those moments of tragedy. And she said, and if you're open to opportunities for change and growth, she was like, typically out of the most painful moments in our life is when the most beautiful lessons occur. And I was like, there it is. That's it right there. See? You know, in the most painful moments in our life, it's when the most beautiful lessons occur. But we don't necessarily want to hear that. You know, and don't throw that in my face when I'm going through the most difficult lesson. I don't think that's the time to learn the lesson. I think 2, 3, 5 years down the road, 6 months down the road, maybe that's the time to learn the lessons, right? But when I look back on my life, the most painful things that I went through is when I learned some of the most valuable lessons in my life. And some of those painful things were situations I put myself in. You know, some of them weren't. But, like, the reality is, like, I don't, like, when I heard Oprah's definition of forgiveness, you know, there were moments of my childhood that were beautiful and magical. Like, I was just talking about this the other day and talking about, like, Caroline and I and, like, what our Christmases were like, right? A big difference between Caroline and I's upbringing is that while Caroline's mom drank a lot, my aunt drank a lot. Heavy drinker. I don't know that she drank to the... Well, yeah, she did drink to the level of my mom sometimes. I think those two girls had so much pain in their lives that I think that as a result, they turned to drinking. I think that's really what happened with my mom and my aunt. And I think they also probably had a predisposition for it, genetically. Because my grandma, she was a teetotaler. She'd never drank alcohol. She hated it. So I don't know if it was my grandpa or my grandma's dad. My grandma had a really tough childhood growing up, and I don't know if she witnessed her dad drinking or whatever, but I think there was alcoholism there in our family history. And my mom never knew either, because I asked her, you know, we would talk about it. But unlike Caroline, like, Caroline always had her dad, like, at home, right? So, like, you know, if Caroline's mom was drinking a lot, well, her dad wasn't. Like, he drank, but he never drank heavy like that, right? Whereas with me, if my mom was drunk, it was me and my mom, right? Like, and that's scary as a kid. And there were scary situations that happened to me as a result of that. There were situations, and I think one of the things that was hardest for me was that, painted picture-wise, our house was beautiful. I had woods to play in. You know, everything on the outside looked magical. Looked gorgeous, right? But it wasn't at all. And there was a lot of ugliness and a lot of fear. And it was scary. And I held on to that for a long time. Especially when I became an adult, it was real easy for me to turn that fear into anger towards my mom. And long before I ever heard this quote from Oprah, I had forgiven my mom. Like, my mom and I had many, many talks. I just have to say, like, if you're out there and you're struggling with addiction or whatever, my mom getting sober, like, when she got sober, and then I could tell she was serious about sobriety, like, that, even if she never said anything to me, even if we never sat down and talked about my childhood and she took responsibility and all that kind of stuff, like, her just getting sober and changing her life was almost enough. Like, it almost took away for everything. And, you know, there's been a couple times on here where I've talked about it, and people always will say things like, well, why didn't your dad, like, take you out of that situation? Or, you know, why didn't your dad have custody and whatever? Okay, first of all, and I'm not making excuses for my dad, but, like, my dad and I have talked about this ad nauseum. It was a different generation. You know, my dad called me every morning and every night. I saw my dad every Wednesday evening, and I saw him every other weekend, and sometimes every weekend, because my mom would call him and be like, I didn't know this till later, but she'd say, come and get him. Like, because she just was, like, so overwhelmed with her life, right? Because my mom had a lot of mental health stuff going on, too. My dad always, from the word go, when they got separated, always said, you're more than welcome to come and live with me anytime that you want. But he would say, but I really think that your place is with your mom. I think it would devastate her if you came and lived with me. Now, that's a hard statement for an 8 to 10-year-old to hear, right? Because I don't want to let down my mom, but I knew he was right. And I think everybody involved knew if my dad took Peter, my mother, I think she would have probably taken her life. Like, I don't think she would have made it through that. And so I think that what happened was, I think more than I'm aware of, because I know that my dad talked to people in our neighborhood. Like, I know that, like, the woman that lived across the street that my mom was close with, I know my dad talked to her on a regular basis. One of my dad's, like, so my dad's was a plastic surgeon. The anesthesiologist that my dad worked with every single day was our neighbor. You know, it was like, there were a lot of people that were watching out for me, and I just think, like, my dad was like, because he really started to say it more when I was, like, junior high school, but I think he was so, like, if I fight her for custody, I will win, and then the whole world will know, because it'll have to come out about the drinking, and then it's going to be this huge shameful thing, and she loses her kid, and she's living on the street. And I just think my dad was like, I'm not doing that to another human being. I just think he couldn't go there, honestly. And so I think he set up the best situation that he could for me. I think that's what he honestly did, you know, by checking in with me every morning and every night. And the other thing is this, I think it's important to note, is that, like, and this was the hardest part for me, but it was also the reality, was my mom could go 4 or 5 days and not drink. Like, when I talk about my mom's drinking, like, It wasn't like every single day of her entire life, like she was wasted drunk. I mean, 4 and 5 days would go by and it would be Little House on the Prairie and chili dinners and, you know, raw apple muffins and books at the library. And then I would come home and typically, like, it would be set off by something, but I wouldn't know that, right? Until like years later, and my mom would tell me, oh, well, that day, you know, and so something would happen and like she and my dad would have gotten into a fight in the middle of the afternoon and she would have started to drink. Or my mom had a friend, like one of her best friends her whole life, who, like, she would come over and they would start drinking at like noon or 1. And then at like 5 or 6, my mom's friend would be like, well, I got to go home to the man. She'd go home to her husband. And my mom would be so tanked that she couldn't even put dinner on the table, you know? And so anyway, I had a lot of anger and fear. And I had things that, you know, just... There's a lot of crap from my childhood, and but I also, like, when I heard that definition from Oprah about forgiveness, that forgiveness is accepting that what happened in the past happened, not that it was okay. That's the important part, right? Not that it was okay what happened, but that it happened. Now, what are you going to do with it so that you're not held hostage to it today? And when I heard that, I was like, man, that's so powerful, right? Because, like, I think so many of us use these things that happened to us in our past as reasons to anchor us into today, to not be able to move on with our lives. Like, if you only knew what happened to me, you know, like, we hear this a lot when people come into the rooms of recovery. Like, if you knew what had happened to me, you would drink like I did. Well, I think in 2021, not to minimize anybody's pain of what they've gone through, but everybody on some degree has probably gone through some horrific crap. Yes, definitely more than others. This woman's story tonight, I thought, how the hell are you sitting there with 40 years of sobriety? Like, seriously? Like, I know people that would have drank over tons less, right? She's a miracle. She talked a lot about that tonight, about not missing the miracle. You know, I love when people say that. You know, don't leave before the miracle occurs. Don't give up before the miracle occurs. But, you know, like, I don't want to be, I can't talk about everybody else and why they choose to, you know, it's like we can't let go of that piece from the past. I know, I understand it. You know, this isn't just stuff that I talk about and just throw out there. I've lived it. I've had a lot of really painful, horrific crap happen to me. And like I said, a lot of it I don't even talk about on here, right? But a lot of it I don't use as an excuse today. A lot of it I have even just in the last couple years. But over all of it, I don't want to use any of it as an excuse for conditions of my life today. You know, I don't want to use any of it as an excuse. I don't want any of that stuff to have power over me today. I want to be free from all of it. I don't think the meaning of our lives is for horrible crap to happen to us and we just relive it for the rest of our lives. I don't believe that to be true. I just don't, you know? The battery's dying. I think I have another battery. Hold on. Oh, I do. I don't know where to pull in. Well... Now it's like, I should turn into that street because there's a church there. Now it's like house. But, you know, I just don't believe that. I don't believe that that's the meaning of life. That's the purpose of life, is for, like, this horrific crap to happen to us in our childhood or our marriages or, you know, in early in life. And then you just relive it and relive it and relive it and relive it over and over and over and over again. And then say to people, and then it almost becomes part of, it defines you, you know? Like, I don't want it to define me. Those are things that happen to me. That's not who I am. Hold on a second. Change this. Okay, I changed the battery, and then I started talking. I was telling a story about my friend, and I said her name. So we'll just go back to what I was talking about before. And, you know, what I was talking about before is that, like, I just don't want that to be... Like, I just don't think that that's supposed to be the point of our lives, right? That, like, bad crap happens to us, you know, in our youth, or we come from crazy families, or whatever, and then you just relive it over and over and over and over again, and you use it as an excuse to not grow. Any of us. Like, I don't think that's supposed to be for any of us. I don't want that. Like, I want to be free from that stuff. I don't want to use it as an excuse. But I think sometimes to not use it as an excuse, you have to look at it square in the face, and you have to push through, you know? You know, when I was in counseling this last time, there was like some really, really painful stuff that I had to look at in the face, right? And just like look at, and it wasn't like my counselor was like, well, this is what you do with it, or, you know, here, take this workbook home. Or, I mean, there's no easy answers to it. Sometimes it's just about feeling the pain. You know, sometimes it's about, well, let's take a look at what the pain is about. Is it about fear? You know, is it about not feeling loved? Is it why me? Because I felt all those things. Why me? Why not me? What's going to happen to me? Who's going to take care of me? Who's going to love me? You know, I mean, I have ran the gamut of fear, emotions, and everything on things in my life. And the thing is, maybe I'm not getting any younger. You know, I'm going to be 50. And I know that 50 is not old, but it's not 20. And some of these things, in all reality, that I am still, or I've been working on, you know, the last couple years, and I don't feel it as strongly. But some of these things that were holding me back, let's just say 5 years ago, when we were in the middle of counseling and I worked on them, some of those things are things I felt when I was 20. So 25 years, I've still been holding on to this stuff and using it as an excuse to keep me anchored and unable to move forward. Who ultimately is hurt by that? And this isn't something as easy as just saying, well, don't let people rent space for free in your head, okay? Well, I think that's easier said than done when it's a friend that's pissed you off. But I think, excuse my language, but I think it's different when it's like you've gone through some traumatic experiences as a kid, okay? I mean, I'm telling you right now, if some of the things I've gone through, if somebody looked at me and said, well, don't let people rent space in your head for free, I'd say, you have literally 2 seconds to get out of my face before I hit you. You know what I mean? Like, you don't say that to somebody that's gone through some gross, negligent, horrible pain. You just don't, right? And that's why I learn so much when I hear from other people's stories, you know, like I did tonight with this woman. Or when I have somebody look at me and they say, I went through some really horrible stuff too, you know. And you know what? I don't want you to miss out on life because you can't see yourself not defined by that thing happening to you or those things happening to you. Or if your mother loved you enough, she wouldn't have put you through that. Or if your dad loved you enough. Or if this, you know, like, you can't continue to live that way. Well, you can, but it's no way to live. I want freedom from that stuff. I don't want that stuff to define me. I don't want it to be where I live. You know what I mean? I love a saying, the first time I ever heard it, I can't remember what the movie was called, but it was with Philip Seymour Hoffman, who I absolutely loved. It's so sad that he passed away. And Al Pacino. Some of you out there will know what movie I'm talking about. I don't remember what it's called, but Al Pacino. Is it Robert De Niro or Al Pacino? I think it might be Robert De Niro, actually. And he is like in the mob or something, or I can't remember, but he gets shot. And he lives in the same building as Philip Seymour Hoffman, who's a drag queen, but he's also a vocal coach. And he's had like, was he shot or did he have a stroke? I can't remember. But anyway, he starts taking like vocal lessons, singing lessons from Philip Seymour Hoffman, and they develop this like really, he gets shot at the end of it. So I think it's a shooting kind of situation. I don't remember, but anyway, it's one word, flawless or something like that, I think. I think Philip Seymour Hoffman actually got nominated for an Academy Award for it. He's unbelievable in it. He's so good. And there's a part in it. Well, first of all, like, there's this one really funny scene, and he's like, come on, you can do it, you can do it. And Robert De Niro is just like, it's Robert De Niro, not Al Pacino, right? I always, like, I mean, I know who they each are, but, like, so when he's, like, sitting there, I always forget which one's in which movies, and he's like, he goes, sing out, Louise, which is, like, a line from, Gypsy, like, you know, about Gypsy Rose Lee. Anyway, there's a part in it when Robert De Niro is, like, really trying to speak or sing, and he said, I can't. And I'll never forget this line. I had never heard this before, and I will never forget it. And Philip Seymour Hoffman looks at him and says, can't lives on Won't Street. And I remember hearing that, and I thought, oh my God, that's so true, right? Like, all those things that we tell ourselves we can't do. I can't do this, it's too difficult. I can't do that. If you understood, we make all these excuses, right? When maybe the reality is we've lived in pain for so long, it's easier to live there than actually do something different, you know? I'll just tell you this. If you're somebody out there listening to this that's gone through something horrible, whether that's the passing of a loved one or a pet, all the way to tragic, horrific stuff that's happened, get yourself somebody good to talk to. Get yourself a counselor, a therapist, a life coach, somebody to talk to. You can't do it on your own. Ourselves against our own selves as a sounding board will drive ourselves mad. Okay, we just can't do it ourselves. We need somebody else to be a sounding board for us. But there is freedom from that stuff, you know? And you have to say to yourself, I don't want to continue to live like this. You know, my sponsor always says to me, when we talk about, like, things that have happened in my life, she's like, it's time for us to get to, she always uses these words, which I love, and these are recovery words, but she'll say, we have to get to causes and conditions. You know, we have to get to what caused these things in my life. What's the condition of my life today? What's been the condition of my life? And look at these things, right? Do I choose to live in the lie, or do I choose to live in the truth? You know, the reality is a lot of the things that happened to me in my life happened because I was surrounded by people that were really sick and didn't know any better. It wasn't... What did she say tonight in her, like, her story? I love this. She said, what I know today is that I had people in my life that loved me a lot. They just couldn't love me every day the way that I needed to be loved. And I was like, oh my God. My mother's inability to love me the way, I know my mom loved me. I know she did. You know, and she did her best. She really, honest to God, did her best. But her inability to love me consistently the way that I needed to be loved at that time caused it to be where there was a lot of pain in my life, you know? I don't for one second believe that my mom raised me thinking, well, I'm going to do these things because I want my kid to suffer for the next 50 years. Like, I don't believe that. I really don't. Do I believe there are some sadistic parents out there? Sure, I do. Do I believe that my mom was one of those? No. Do I think that most parents are like that? No. I think most parents, even the really bad ones, I think inside they're so twisted and they have so many of their own issues that are not worked out that ends up being affected on the kids. And then the kids live with it. And then if that's not fixed or worked on, then, or somehow reconciled in the mind, then that's passed on to the next generation and the next generation and the next generation, you know? But I don't want to continue to live like that. I don't want to... And I'm not angry at my mom today. You know? I'm not even mad at my mom. I love my mom. And I wasn't mad and angry at her before she passed away. I had long since forgiven her. And, you know, my sponsor has really helped me with, it's sometimes the small things, not the big things. You know, one of the things she has offered to me is a prayer for the sick man. And the prayer for the sick man is this prayer that basically, God help these people that are sick. They know not what is best for them, you know, how to do better. And that's a huge part of acceptance, is when you look at a situation and you say, it's not excusing somebody away. It's not excusing what they've done. It's saying they're a sick person. I don't excuse what they did to me. I don't make excuses for it. Today I choose to not live in that. But for them, it starts seeing them as a human. It starts allowing us to see people as human. I don't have to have a relationship with them. They don't have to be in my life. But it removes me from being a hostage to them in that situation. You know? Years ago, I never understood this. My old sponsor, he would have me pray for people. Like, those things I wanted for myself in my life, he'd have me pray for the people that I didn't get along with. I should just say it how it is. He'd have me pray for the people that I hated, for them to have those things. And I'd be like, what do you mean? And he'd be like, you want a home? Pray for those people to have a home. Pray for those people to have unlimited happiness and romantic love in their life. Well, F those people, he'd say. F those people. When you can start seeing them as human beings and you can forgive them is when you will change. Because the process is about you. It is not about them. You cannot change them. You cannot make them into a different person. What has happened, happened. But when you start becoming human enough to be able to forgive those people and look at them in a different way and not say F those people, then you've changed. And I didn't get it at the time. I really didn't, man. But he'd have me get down on my hands and knees and pray, you know, for, let this person have everything in their life they wanted to have. I mean, I'm telling you right now, I was eye-rolling God, okay? I was like, forget this. I don't even believe this. And I'd sometimes see people, you know, and they'd say, oh, hi, how are you? And it'd be one of those people, and I'd think, you know, oh, really? So your life's going so well. It must be those prayers I'm doing for you. Because I thought I was that important, right? Like, I thought I was that important that God worked that way, you know, in my life. And then I was mad because God was giving to them what I wanted, and I thought it was because of my prayers, because I thought I was that important. Well, I'm not that important, you know? But ultimately what it made me do was, it made me realize it's real hard to pray for somebody, pray good stuff on somebody for a long time that you hate. It really is. And over time, it kind of changes. And in your head, even though, like, maybe you just are like, I'm going to hate this person for the rest of my life. It's like, you can't after a long time, you know? It's like you start changing it. It's like, you know, it's just not even worth the energy to hate somebody that much. Have you ever hated somebody so much that you're just like, I don't even have the energy in my heart to hate this person anymore? And one day it's like nothing happens. It's like you don't go to counseling for it. You don't have a sponsor. It's just like, I mean, this is a true story. I mean, this stuff has happened to me, right? It's like you wake up one day and like their name comes up and you just don't even care. It's like it has no power. It's like be gone before somebody drops a house on you. It's like in Wizard of Oz. You know, it's like you have no power over me anymore. Well, that's what kind of started happening for all these people that I was praying for. You know, it was like they didn't have any power over me anymore. And that was like really, like, I was like, what is going on? And then when I would see them or whatever, not like before, but down the road, when I would see them, I didn't have the anger and the animosity anymore. In fact, I had the opposite of that, which is, you know, oh shit, what's the word I'm looking for? I was just emotionally detached. I had no emotional investment in them, you know? I was, what's the I word I'm looking for? Why can't I think of it? Indifferent. I was just indifferent to them, you know? And it wasn't so much about, well, you did this and you did that and this is why I don't like you, whatever. It was like, hey, how are you? Like, I could care less. Like, hey, I hope life's going good for you. Like, and mean it, right? When you can look at people that you didn't used to get along with and wish them the best, because like that is something I really put into practice starting about 10 years ago. Somebody passed that on to me, I don't know where, but I learned that lesson. And You know, it was like if you got into an argument or whatever or break up with somebody. I think in going through my breakup with my ex, you know, because we had a really civil breakup, it was like we just both knew we fell out of love with each other. It wasn't really deeper than that. We didn't hate each other. There was no anger or animosity. It was hard at first, you know, but like for me to really wish the best for him and really want him to find somebody that made him happy, vice versa, you know, and really want him to have the best life possible because I loved him. Like, you know, I really cared a lot about him. I wasn't mad at him. I didn't hate him. It didn't work. Well, there's friendships that are like that stop working, you know? There's all kinds of relationships like that. And what I realized was if I had the ability to do that with a romantic partner and I had the ability to do that with a friend, well, then I had the ability to do that with somebody that I didn't like either, right? Like if we had parted on not so happy terms, that I didn't have to, like, this is where the telling on somebody comes into, like, where you always want to tell on somebody. If you only knew what this person did to me, if you only knew what that, I don't have the need to do that today. I'm not going to say that I'm not ever going to do that. I'm not going to say that there isn't going to be a moment where I decide, hey, I'm going to tell on this person, right? Like, in defense of who I am as a person. Because I also think that that's what comes along with integrity, is not having to pick every battle, but picking some. Like, I really believe in that today. I used to believe you don't fight battles. I don't believe that today. I believe integrity means you stand up for yourself at the time that you think is right. But I don't want to have to stand up for and defend myself at any given time, because then it just looks like you're jousting windmills all the time. And I think people see it as pathetic, right? Pick your battles. That's how I choose to live today. But, you know, like, I wish people the best in my life, you know? If you have a friendship that goes south, but there was a period 2 months ago where you were laughing and, you know, having so much fun and whatever, and then it just really goes south. Like, I've never understood as grown adults why we take to, and let me tell you about this person and blah, 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 whatever, right? Well, is that what you were thinking when you were laughing 2 months ago? When you were joking over this, or sharing family stories about that, or sharing really personal stuff. Like, I've never really understood, even when I was much younger, I never really was the person that was like, hey, let me tell you all this stuff about this person. I felt inside like I wanted to, but I never really understood that vindictive kind of turn. I've never really gotten that in my life, right? And so I've always just kind of like in my heart been like, I think also it's kind of like the ultimate betrayal to some degree. It's like we were really close and we shared something and we're not friends anymore and we've decided to go our separate ways, but now you're going to turn on me. Like when I shared the most intimate parts of my life with you and I have to be afraid of you now. Like I have to be afraid that you're going to share those private moments that I shared with you because I trusted you. Like to me, that's a really evil person, and I stay clear of that. I don't mess with that at all anymore today. You know, back in the day, I try to make that right and reach out, and I'm so sorry, and what can we do, and blah, blah, blah. I don't do that anymore. That to me is a sign of an evil person. I just, you know, people of the lie. My mom used to talk about it all the time with the Scott Peck book, you know. I just steer clear of that. I just don't mess with it, you know. I just don't. You've shown me who you are. It's like Maya Angelou says, you know, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them. They know that themselves much better than you. I don't mess with that. Like, you know, it's just, don't back me into a corner where I have to defend myself. But if I'm not backed into a corner, you know, like, if anybody would say anything to me like, oh, well, you used to be friends with Judy Smith in 2008, and we had some huge falling out, I'd say, yeah, how's she doing? Is she doing good? Well, yeah, like, well, what happened? Oh, you know, that's between Judy and I, and it's water under the bridge. It's been a long time. Why keep on bringing it up all these years later? Wish Judy the best, you know, and I do. Like, there's no reason not to. Plus, I think that energy comes back on us. I really do. I think that when we wish like negative or harmful energy on people, I think that comes back on us. I do. I'm not a big believer in like karmic energy is just floating out there in the universe and it's like, you know, ready to, I mean, when people are like, oh, karma, I don't necessarily think karma works that way. I just think that when you put a lot of negativity out there and you surround yourself with negative people, you're negative minded. I think that's how negative energy works in lives, you know? And if you're positive and you think positively and you're forgiving and you're hopeful and you boost people up, well, then people will do the same to you. do. So what do you choose? Well, I can tell you there was a time in my life that I chose to be negative. I chose to not be forgiving. I chose to put people in their place. I chose to, and I don't want to be that person today. I just don't. I want to be forgiving and compassionate and kind and gentle and hopeful and, building relationships. And that's on me. Like, I get to make that decision, right? Like, in my life today, I get to make that decision. So it's really up to me what I want and what you want. I love when you see, like, on Twitter, like somebody will be going through like some like cancellation scandal, right? And somebody will say, like, I see this happen almost every scandal there is with whoever it is, right? This is karma. This is biting them on their ass. And I'm like, let me tell you something about karma, okay? When you live a little bit in this earth and you've been around for a little while, what you realize is there ain't no such thing as karma. I have known, and this, I'm talking long before being on YouTube, okay? I have known some horrific people in my life. Seriously. I have known men that have stolen mass amounts of money from their closest friends, cheated on their wives, had girlfriends up in condos, driving Mercedes around town, never saw their kids. Not good people, And I'm not just saying it from a gender point of view, too. I've met my fair share of women that are not, the most delicate or moral-driven human beings. And you know what is interesting about them? Some of them are thriving at life. Some of them are living on yachts and seemingly in really happy relationships from the outside looking in. And I don't know what the inside looks like, right? But it seems to me like they're living pretty good lives. Their businesses are thriving. They're dancing on Saturday nights. They're having great times. They're traveling all the time. I don't know. Maybe they're the most miserable people on the inside, but on the outside, they look like they're having a lot of fun. And that's the other thing, too. It's like when people say, oh, they look like they're having a lot of fun, but they're really miserable on the inside. No, I just think that there are a lot of people that never feel bad for what they do, honestly, right? And they really are having a lot of fun. And they're yacht hopping, and they're going on all these trips, and their businesses are making millions of dollars a year, and they're cheating on their wives and spouses, and they don't have any relationship with their kids, and they don't really care, and they're just really rather selfish human beings. And yet karma never seems to catch up with these people. Karma never seems to happen to these people. I'm not a believer in karma. I'm just not, okay? Maybe in another life or something, hell, I don't know. But I have witnessed that enough times. If you're my age, or even I'd say 10, 15 years younger, you've probably witnessed the same thing. There's a lot of, it's like the school bully is usually one of the most popular people, right? When do you ever see karma catching up with that person? When they're 60? Because I sure never saw it in high school, okay? That person always had the hottest girlfriend, the most friends, got invited to all the parties, got full ride scholarship to college. While I'm over here struggling as a result of being bullied, don't want to come to school, my grades suck. I got, friends that I love to this day, but they're being equally made fun of. I'm not having an easy time in school. Where's the karma in that? I'm just saying, right? Like, if karma was really a thing, like, and it really worked, then why wouldn't the truly good people be the ones whose businesses are super successful and whatever? Now, I don't judge my life that way today, right? Like, I judge my life on how I feel inside, because I am a believer, right? That you can have extremely successful businesses. She was talking about this tonight. She was talking about how successful, she's been in business and stuff like that financially. She said, but that's not what matters. And she's like, it's the spiritual. It's like your connection to a higher power and your connection to people. Like, that's what's important. Now, I know that to be true today, you know? Even if karma was paying me the way that it should, I don't even want to know. It probably wouldn't be good. But do you know what I mean? Like, even if, like, I had, and I mean, and we have a good life financially. I mean, we do okay. We can pay our bills. We have a roof over our head. We have nice cars. You know, it's like, you know, I mean, we have a good life, you know? But let's just say if I was making tens of millions of dollars a year and I could do all that kind of stuff, I don't know that I would be any happier inside. But those aren't the things that make me happy, you know? But it does crack me up when people say that, like, I did a video actually about it. I think it was on my Peterisms channel years ago, and it was like, there's no such thing as karma. Or I think I called it cheaters sometimes win. Because it's true, they do. You know what they say, like, oh, cheaters never win. Yes, they do. I have known my fair share of cheaters that are winning at life. But then what you kind of realize as you get older is, it doesn't really matter. You know, this isn't like, these grades aren't weighted. You know what I mean? Just because they're getting an A because they're cheating, it doesn't mean that you're getting a D because you're not. You can get an A too. And you can cheat, or you can get an A the legit way. How do you want to get it, you know? In life. I don't want to cheat to get an A today. I want to have a good life. And I do have a good life, and I feel beyond blessed for that. Tomorrow, we are going to brunch. I don't know where we're going, but we're going to brunch tomorrow. Probably Patashu. And I'm going to have my delicious horseradish omelet. I might make a really special omelet tomorrow. I've been thinking about it this week. And I might have cinnamon toast instead of a bagel, but I don't think so because I love their bagels. And then I don't know what we're going to do afterwards because I already have my videos filmed for tomorrow. If Alex, he's basically been living in bed this entire weekend. Watching shows and hanging out with the dog. The dogs could live in bed 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. They love being in bed. So I don't know. I may come home and take a nap. I am on the third. I have an hour left. I'm going to listen to it tonight. I have an hour left of the third Campers and Criminals book by Tanya Kappas. I'm so obsessed with this series, you guys. It is so fantastic. The books are shorter than the Misfortune series, but it reminds me a lot of the Misfortune series. Just the town and the characters are real eccentric and stuff like that. It's really cute. So I love that. The next book is the Christmas one. So I'm probably going to listen to the Christmas one. And then I think I might take a break. I was going to just listen to them straight through, like all 20 of them. I might do that. I don't know. But I'm loving them so much that I kind of don't want to, like, finish them all right now, you know? So I might take a break and read something else. I think next weekend, like Thursday through Sunday, I'm going to listen to the Leanne O'Yeardy book, Apples Never Fall, if you would like to read it with me. But tomorrow I have a drama video to post. I'll have the vlog, and then I have my review video. I might do a Peter Does Stuff video, but I don't know what I'm going to do if I do that. Well, I walked through Richie Woods the other day, and then it was like, literally overnight or over the period of 2 days, like all the leaves changed to orange. And so I was like, I might do a video about the leaves. I love that channel. I'm having so much fun on the channel. There are, like, the stars out here are so bright, you guys. How does that song about Texas go? Dun, 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 dun. Deep in the heart of Texas. Isn't that a song? Is that a song? Am I making that up in my head? Something about stars shine bright. Am I making this up, or is this like a real thing? Oh my God, it stopped again. I didn't even know that I was anywhere close to the end. That's crazy. By the way, this is a diet Dr. Pepper. And I have I thought it was kind of interesting tonight that they didn't have any soda at this banquet. They just had, well, I'm sure that's maybe how they planned it, but they had coffee, iced tea, and water. I just thought that those were like, well, people in recovery drink a lot of iced tea. A lot of iced tea. Do you know what? When I was like back in the day, when I hung out with like, you know, had my gay group and I was going out to gay bars all the time and stuff, all my friends back then drank iced tea too. Which is really funny because I think it was last night I got a bottle of, I like extra sweet tea. When I get sweet tea, I like extra sweet tea. Where is the best sweet tea in the world? Let me know in the comment section below. Because I want to drive through and get a fountain. Well, not a fountain, but you know what I mean. Like a sweet tea. People talk about Chick-fil-A having really good sweet tea. There's someplace else that people buy like jugs of it. Is it McDonald's? I don't know where it is. Anyway. All right, you guys, listen, I'm going to get off here and I'm going to, I feel like Dustin Daly back in the day used to drop by, I think he told me, he used to buy like jugs of iced tea. I don't remember where he would get them though. Maybe McDonald's? I can't remember. That was like years ago. Anyway, all right, I'm going to get off here now. So I hope that you guys are having a magically amazing Sunday. And I hope that you are rejuvenated and refreshed and renewed and relaxed or doing that for the week ahead. And if nobody else has told you this today, I love you. And I will see you guys tomorrow. I love you. Bye. Love ya. Oh, and for those that need to hear it, for those that want to hear it, and for those that just stuck around, first, put a Christmas emoji to show me that you made it to this part in the comment section below. And one more, I love you. I love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Love ya.